All right, here we go. Can you hear me?
Hey Mojo, we can't hear you.
Okay. How I
Are you muted in the stream?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm live. I'm
What's
not.
happening?
Let's see here.
Hello, everyone who may be watching this. This is the Now Show, and right now we're figuring out a very different set of circumstances. Now I can hear you.
All
Yeah.
right. All right.
All right.
Take
Take
two.
two
Take two. Just reset and take two. Here we go.
and go.
Mustang Sally. Guess you better slow your Mustang down. Oh Lord, what I say now? Mustang Sally, now baby. Oh Lord, better slow your Mustang down. Ha! Oh yeah. You've been running all over town. Guess you better put your flat feet on the ground. Yeah. Yeah. Ha! Well, I said now. Oh, and all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. I said, all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, rally, ride. All right, well, listen, one of these early morning, woo, gonna be wiping your sleeping eye. Ha! What I say now? Look here. Bought you a brand new Mustang, 1965. Ha! You come around, signify a woman. You won't want to let me ride Mustang Sally, now, baby. Oh, Lord, guess you better slow that Mustang down. Ha! Oh, Lord, you've been running all over town. Woo! Guess you better put your flat feet on the ground. Yeah, ha! What I said now? Let's see it one more time now. Everybody sing. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. Oh yeah. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. I said all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. Woo! One of these early mornings, guess you're gonna have to put your flat feet on the ground. Yeah. Mustang Sally, guess you better slow that Mustang down. Ha! Mustang Sally, now baby, guess you better slow that Mustang down. Oh, oh Lord, running all over town. Time to put your flat feet on the ground. All you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. I said, all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. Oh, all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. I know that all you wanna do is ride, Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. Woo, yeah. to put your flat feet on the ground. There you go.
Right, we're doing it. This is happening. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Now Show, where we are coming live from Starbucks. Actually, this is a really great opportunity. I wanted to do this anyway, but a few weeks ago, I made the comment to Starbucks that I'm so impressed that they're really pitching these reusable mugs because I'm super interested in sustainability and cheers. And yours
As a,
is a
no, as
reusable mug,
opposed
right?
to a very environmental unfriendly styrofoam cup that's a one-time use and then goes in the landfill and takes forever to degrade. Shame on me.
Ooh. So there's problem and solution existing simultaneously. That's much of life.
I love that.
So my name is Dan. As many of you on X know me as Bard now, or maybe you will. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm a
Or a
composer,
sing-lingable.
performer, and educator. Singalingable. Yeah, you definitely might recognize Singalingable more, but I'm a composer, educator, and performer. This is the Now Show that is sponsored by PEAR. It used to be called 7 o'clock somewhere because we believe that it is 7 o'clock somewhere in two places in the world right now, actually. And in one of them, the curtain's going up probably on karaoke or live music show or something like that. And now it's called The Now Show. It's 7 o'clock somewhere. And up here is my co-host. His name is
Mojo, and I just got to show off my sweatshirt. I'm just loving it. It's got
There you
all
go.
the guitars, and it says on my shirt, "Life is full of important choices." Ain't that the truth?
And I was telling Mojo earlier that reminded me of a line from The Little Mermaid. Well, of course it did. And there's this scene where Ursula is saying to Ariel, like, right before she's giving away her fins for legs and gives away her voice, and she's like, "Life is full of tough choices, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Like,
Isn't it then?
isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't it? Isn't it, my
isn't it?
precious?
I just
My
love saying "isn't
precious."
it." Isn't it's a fun way to say "isn't it?"
Isn't it? Isn't it? Well, I did. My wife is from Mississippi, and so there's the in it, but there's also the pin. And when she says, "Hey, can you hand me a pin?" and I'm like, "Do you want a pin, like from a pincushion? Do you want a pen, like a writing utensil? Do you want a pan to cook something in, or what do you want? A
Or are
pin?
you calling me a peon? What's going on here?
Peon? Are you a peon?" Oh, that's fourth one.
That's,
Maybe I think that's probably it.
that
Yeah.
might be the secret. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So our guest for today, we're gonna be rescheduling. We were just kind of having some messages in the back channels, and so we're excited that very soon we'll have Jeremy from Be Friends, and he'll be on joining us. And I'm really excited to learn more about Be Friends. Um, there's just some really cool things going on with that community. I've hopped in there a few times in some of their X spaces, and they're just incredibly welcoming and really cool. Like unassuming. I think that's the thing.
Hmm.
So that I'm really looking forward to that. But Mojo, it's us today, so we can
Yes.
do whatever we want
As if we wouldn't anyway.
within reason. Well, yeah, this is true. This is true.
So I
Yeah. So this could be really, really good. That is the only option. Okay, go
that's
ahead,
the only
Mojo.
choice. That is the only
That
choice.
is it.
This will either be really good or even be better than that. That's our really only choices. It could be good, keep better, or best. Right?
Yep.
So, and by the way,
That's superlative.
this isn't the first time that we've had a guest either be a no-show, reschedule, or just get the time wrong. So we've actually had a little practice of this particular glitch, where
Yeah,
the
it's all
plan
good.
the plan unfolds as it unfolds right here in the now moment. I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I go by Mojo on most of my social medias. You see that up in the little blue bar, the little blue bubble. You can find
Good morning,
all.
Mary.
Hi, Mary. Awesome, Mary. Our
Yeah.
producer is here.
Oh,
doing
and then
things.
I do. Sorry, I do have to do one thing. Shout out Presley Bernard.
Okay.
Shout out Presley Bernard. Go ahead.
Shout out Presley Bernard. Who is Presley Bernard?
I don't know. There's
Okay.
a lot of people now that are finding this on YouTube, which is
All right.
really exciting.
Excellent.
So
Woo!
there's some algorithm or like there was a secret like handshake that got assigned or something, and like
So we don't even know what happened. We just know that it
we
got.
don't.
We're getting
Yeah.
boosted. You know what that means? We're getting boosted somewhere in the algorithms.
Well, that's better than booted.
Right. Anything's possible.
Unless
So
it's not.
yeah.
I'm gonna always. I think this is the day that I have a clip for everything. Um, Life is full of important choices, isn't
Isn't it?
it?
Isn't it?
Yes, and
So
Mary, we got to shine some light on Awesome Mary. So
yes.
we typically will be sharing the chat mosa, and I'm gonna do that right now. I just can't do a lot other than just share it on the screen. So I'm gonna pass you back the mic, Mojo. So
Okay.
here you go. Take
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Grab it.
All right. Got it.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So as I was saying, I'm Joseph Mojo McCarthy. Go by Mojo on socials. I have all sorts of stuff online. I've been creating for a long time. So I've got a podcast. I've got a video cast. I've got music online. I've got a Printify store with a whole bunch of graphic design materials that I've created. My designs put on all sorts of materials. You can find all that just going to one place, mojo.studio, mojoe.studio, which is a link tree that goes to all these different things. I've got a blog. I mean, it's on and on it goes. I'm I'm kind of like uh, I guess a conduit was the best word. Stuff just comes flowing from all over, and I kind of
Mm.
assimilate it, right? Mix it up, match, and then something comes out, and I post it. So I'm just
You're a pleasant polymath. I mean,
that's right,
that's
absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. And polymath is a great word for me because I always kind of had this negative feeling because of what people would say. Joe, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. And first of all, I say, don't call me Jack. And
Hmm.
two, who says I can't be a master of more than one thing?
Yeah,
Right.
you don't know
So
Jack.
that's right. You don't know Jack because I'm not Jack. You know Joe. And so I've now embraced this term polymath, which really just basically means that you're an expert in more than two unrelated fields. And so I'm a professional graphic designer. I'm a professional musician. I do videography, photography. I write. I edit. I mean, there's lots of things I do. That's not to brag. That's just to say some of us are wired to do one thing extremely well, and we need those people. They're masters at one thing, and they become extraordinary because they put their time, energy, and effort all in one place. I'm not wired that way. I'm going every direction all the time, both in output and input. I'm just receiving inputs as we all are with our senses, our five senses, and then how that gets assimilated and how that gets mixed and matched, and then it comes out. And just as a reminder to me, more than it is probably to you, Solomon, who in the Bible was considered, who widely is considered one of the wisest people who ever lived, he said there's nothing new under the sun, which is true. So what we're all doing as creatives is we're taking all the inputs, which are the same inputs that we all have, and we just put them together in a different way, and we express it through our individual character and our thoughts and our actions and all the things that we do is a unique expression of what is common to all of us. And I love that. And it's just like our humanity, right? I'm not like any other human that's ever existed nor ever will. However, I am exactly like you in terms of the molecules that build me, right? I'm 80% water, as are you, and all the little tiny filaments that are the tiniest known particles, they're all identical. They just happen to be combined in a different way. That's exactly what art is. That's what life is. Life is a bunch of amazing things that are expressed through a different combination of the exact same particles. So we're identical, but we're unique at the same time. And I love that paradox. In fact, I look for paradoxes now, not because I'm confused by them, because I know that there's truth in there. That I mean, I could go on and on, but one of the things that I found and have adopted is from this book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's a business book, but the principle applies, I think, far and wide. And one of the great principles out of Jim Collins' book, which came out probably 30 years ago, Good to Great. If you haven't read it or you haven't read it in a while, I highly recommend it, not just for business, but for just leading your life. And one of the great principles is um, is that Jim Collins reminds us all that most of the time our minds are very dichotomous. We're often thinking black or white, red
Hmm.
or blue, up or down. We're always thinking on the opposite ends of a spectrum, forgetting that it is a spectrum, right? That red and blue are two different colors in a spectrum. They're all part of a bigger spectrum. That black and white, those aren't the only choices. There's a zillion choices in between. And sometimes you have both. And I think that the easiest illustration of that is a battery. If you take a battery, there is a negative pole and a positive pole in one battery. The exact opposite things are still creating one battery. And I'm thinking, I'm that battery. I have negativity in me, I have positivity in me, and everything in between. And just any now moment, to take the now show idea, in any now moment, am I expressing the poles of negativity and positivity, or somewhere in between? Most of the time, we land somewhere in between. And that's just in the now moment. That doesn't who I am. It's not my identity. It's just an expression of all the possibilities that were within me that come out in this now moment. What do you think about that, Dan?
That's oh my gosh. This is the theme of the show today is polymathy.
Sweet.
I wanted to just respond in a couple ways because I also identify as a polymath, and I was actually
Absolutely.
in a community here on X. That's one of the first things that I was kind of dragged back into Twitter in the Twitter days in 2019 because of social audio, because it was a way to instantly connect with people. And
Right.
one of the first people I met here on this platform was Samantha Postman. So you need to look up Samantha Postman, and she and a group, a small group of polymaths kind of banded together, and we started just kind of hanging out on Wednesdays, and just it was an amazing experience. So I wanted to first, this is something she taught me, I wanted to um, finish that saying that you started with, a jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is oftentimes better. Here, I want to read it correctly.
Yeah. I haven't heard the rest.
Oftentimes, a jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one. And
Ooh.
that is, we did a book study on range by David Epstein, and it was just talking about how important it is to have this multi-potentiality and multiple facets that you have mastery in. And I'm trying to dig it up on X. I made a few posts about it and just things that I've. We even created a quiz on how to find out if you're a polymath, so I posted that on X.
Sweet.
I might have to have you and Mary really like go for it in sharing some of these resources. In this, we can use this as an opportunity for you to share on the screen, because I
Yes.
can't actually share on the screen because
She's,
like on a screen
she's all
share on
over
a
it, by the
phone,
way. She's
yeah,
all
you
over
just
it.
oh, she is. I know. I can at least do things in the chat, but I don't know how to really share some of these X links unless you can now feel empowered. And I invite you to share the screen of the chat Mosa, and then we can pull some of these resources together, and that'll be the theme today. I think it's a really appropriate theme, and we're talking about, if you're just listening in, we're talking about this. A polymath is someone whose knowledge and expertise span a wide range of different subjects. And yeah, I'm so excited to have that connection, because I've heard you describe yourself before as a polymath. I'm like, yes, because that's yep. And there we go, Samantha Postman. If you look up Samantha Postman on X, she is just incredible. And then the book that I mentioned is Range by David Epstein. And so at the beginning of that book, he's talking a lot about actually chess and AI, and how he's differentiating the idea of strategies and tactics. So a strategy is going to be a lot more adaptable than a tactic. And so he calls, he has these two different, and I love the word dichotomy too. I often think like I'm a
Sure.
dichotomous key. Is it this or this? Okay, is it that or that? Is it that or that? And they're doing like A/B testing over and over again until you can finally get a fine-tuned description of something. Because we are a combination of all of our elements, and we're a combination of binary code at our very being. But the intricacies and the shifting nature of that binary code that makes us human and makes us so adaptable. So David Epstein was saying that there is, oh, by the way, you can join us in the listening lounge if you want to join the chat, Mosa. That we'll go through that in a little bit. I apparently can't keep things on the screen. But anyway, so there's the strategy versus tactics. Let me just land that plane, and then I'll pass it back to you. So strategies are, oh my gosh, you're sharing your screen. You're amazing. I have to turn it on
Okay.
now.
Yeah. 'Cause I don't know what to do. I don't know
There
what
we
to do
go.
next here.
Yep, because and now I just have to go to we'll go like this. So, oh, hi, that's
Up close
awkward.
and personal. I like it. Okay, there we go. All right.
There we go. That's probably good. All right. So
I'm glad you tuned your nose hairs this morning.
I
It's
I
good
could
that you
turn my
tuned your nose hairs. There we go.
phone.
Perfect.
Okay, that works. I'll just have to hold it kind of like this. Awesome. Uh, I know you're like looking up my nose. Um, Strategy is going to be something where the rules change, and he calls strategy something that exists in. I can't do the air quotes with holding my phone. He calls it a wicked world.
A wicked world.
There's like the wicked world and the kind
Okay.
world. So like a wicked world is one where the rules can change, and then a kind world is one where the rules
Mm,
don't change, and there's a predictability. So you could try a different tactic. A tactic is something that exists within one schema that has very clear and definite boundaries, and you can try something new, and it'll have different results. And then if you try the same thing, it will yield the same results. But if we're talking about this world of strategies in this quote unquote wicked world, I don't know. I don't know if those are his names or
doesn't matter.
something he
Just go ahead.
borrowed, but just like the changing world. Yeah. So I view that as more tectonic plates. So we have this kind of reality that it looks the same at all times but on the horizons, it's
Yeah.
shifting on all of the edges. And so you try the same thing, it might
Yes.
not work. You try that same thing again later, it might work because the world has
Yes.
changed, and so that's the whole idea of where he tied it back to AI playing chess against a human. That's been a very, very popular study, and the humans often win because they can adapt
Right.
strategies based on the
Yeah.
changing game, even though the rules are still the same, even though perceptibly it is like a kind world in the
Yes.
world of chess. There's so many algorithms and so many possibilities, and then the ability to strategize and think 30 moves ahead and then adapt on the fly. There's if this then that, if this then that, but if this else this, it's this really intricate logic that we have, that's natural to us, that we that if we can get mastery over making connections across disparate and changing schema, then we're winning at life. So what do you think,
Yeah,
Mojo?
I love all this, and I want to give you a real life example. Just to clarify what Mary posted. The evil world, change that to wicked world. That was the word that was used, not evil.
Oh
And
yeah, yep.
that's important because evil changes the connotation quite a bit for most people. Turns into a spiritual thing,
Yeah.
right?
I'm really curious about
Yeah,
the etymology of wicked, because I thought the same thing
right.
Mary did. I'm using it almost like
Yeah.
a
So
synonym.
I think, and I haven't read the book, but I think what David was getting at isn't the evil world like in terms of spirituality. Now I could be wrong. Maybe this is what I'm intuiting or what I'm receiving or how I'm interpreting it right in the moment. But when you said wicked world, I wasn't thinking wicked as in terms of evil. I was thinking wicked as in terms
Right.
of unpredictable. Like the rules keep changing, so it seems unfair. I think unfair would be a synonym, a synonym,
I like
right?
cinnamon
Synonyms good.
too.
A synonym for wicked in this particular context, in that it
I like that.
seems unfair that I did this thing and I got this result, and I did the same thing again and I got a different result. Well, how am I supposed to know? How can I do anything if the rules are always and I
It's
don't know who's changing the
unpredictable.
rules or when they're changing, right? But here's a real life example
Right.
from my one education about what the wicked game can look like and why it's so important that we don't equate it with evil, because once we take it from wicked into the evil realm, now we feel powerless. Now we feel like, well, now I'm overpowered by a force that's greater than I. And I don't think that's what David's after. I think what he's saying is the rules are changing all the time, and it feels wicked because nobody's telling you that the rules are changing or what they're even changing to, and so you have to keep adapting. So first thing I want to say is it's been said that Einstein said, and I'm not sure this was Einstein, but he's quoted as saying that if you do the same thing over and over again expecting different results, that's a definition
Hmm.
of insanity. I'm not convinced that's Einstein. I think he's smarter than that, because
I think
Einstein
he is
himself
too.
would know. Yeah, Einstein himself would know you do the same thing over and over again, you might get a different result every time. So
That's
I can't imagine.
relativity.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Einstein would ever say that. He's just credited as saying it. And a lot of quotes are credited to people who never said those things. So
Right.
I'm one who said, I've said in my own life, I've said to people that I've advised, if you do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's insanity. That's a false narrative. I'm in this moment. I'm realizing that's not true. I do the same thing over and over again, oftentimes, and I get different results.
Hmm.
Sometimes similar, sometimes completely different. Right. So what's the difference? And you nailed this, Dan. Is
Context.
that, yeah, content versus context. So I'm a marketing
Hmm.
professional, and I've been taught my whole life content is king. Well, that may be true, but context is the supreme emperor over the king because the content may be exactly right, but if it's not in the right context, it will not land. And we know this through history because the VHS versus the Betamax. Betamax is actually a better product. It's more reliable. It lasts longer. There's so many things about Betamax technically is better than VHS, but in the context, so the content was the Betamax versus VHS. But in the context of the world we lived in, the world adopted VHS, even though it's a lesser technology and cost more. Well, why is that? Because that's what was the context was ripe for that. Betamax was the wrong timing. You can say
The
that about
world did wrong. I like Laserdisc
Laserdisc,
personally.
exactly right. Right. No, but I think Laserdisc is the perfect example. In fact, Betamax, VHS, and Laserdisc was the best possible technology
Hmm.
and the
Yep.
coolest technology, but people weren't ready to the culture, the world wasn't
Right.
ready for it. And so it got rejected, even though it was the best content. So content is king, but context is the supreme ruler. And what I often say is that even if the content never changes, when the context changes, then the content means something different, right?
Okay. Okay. Wait. We need that again. Say it nice and slowly because I need
Sure.
to let that sink in.
Yeah, yeah.
When
So,
you
so
said
I want
when the what?
so just going to take two C's: content
Yeah.
and
And
context.
context.
And
Right.
our general perception is that if the content doesn't change, then nothing changes. But that's actually not true. If the content stays the same, but the context changes, then the content itself actually has changed because it
Hmm.
means something
The
different
parameters have
in
changed.
a different parameter, right? So Wayne Dyer is famous for saying, and I think this is his quote. I've heard him say it live, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The truth is, the content itself has not changed, but your perception has changed because you look at it
Hmm.
different. It's called
Right.
reframe. Reframing is a popular way to change yourself from feeling like it's a wicked world to no, it's a game. And I heard Quincy Jones, a famous producer, one of the most
Oh, I love Quincy
famous
Jones.
producers of all times, right? He was interviewed after a lifetime of amazing hits and produced all these albums, et cetera, et cetera. Quincy Jones was asked, "So have you navigated the challenges in your life? How have you navigated all the problems and the issues?" And he says, "Problems? I don't have any problems." And they said, "Quincy Jones, that can't be true. Everybody has problems." He says, "I don't have problems. I have games. I have challenges." And
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. I love
yeah,
that.
he just gamifies everything, right?
Hmm.
What I would call an issue or a challenge or even worse, evil. If I'm gonna, or the wicked, I call it wicked. He's like, nah, it's a game, and I'm going to figure out how to make it work. And he gamifies the whole thing, which turns it from wicked or evil into fun. It's a game now, and when I gamify it, then my energy changes, my energy
Low
shifts.
stakes practice. That's my whole idea behind having low stakes practice govern what I'm doing instead of high stakes decision making.
Right,
Because this is a word borrowed from Dr. Heath, who was one of our guests last week,
Dr. Heath.
and that's catastrophizing. Because
Yes,
there is a tendency that we have as humans to catastrophize things, but when they don't need to be. And we have the ability to look at things very objectively and be scientific about it and just, observe and then respond with wonder and just say, I wonder if this, I
yes,
wonder if that,
right,
or I'm seeing this.
yes,
I think that, I feel this, whatever.
yep.
Um, there's a whole system of observational movement practices that called Laban music theory that I don't know if we've talked about that before,
No,
but I
I've heard
I
this.
majorly nerded out for 3 years in grad school on it, and essentially it's this objective system of putting human movement into a context and a vocabulary where we can speak about it objectively and
Mm,
we can look for the motivation behind something, but not make decisions about anything that we observe and just take in that information and lead with wonder. And so, for example, there's this system in Laban called efforts, and it balances weight, space, time, and flow. And there are 8 different efforts that he talks about. Let me see if I can remember them all off the top of my head. But there's like a punch, which is going to be quick and strong, and it's going to be very direct. Let's see, weights and heavy, strong, direct, and bound. That's the other one. So that would be a punch. And so when somebody's punching, like you just kind of wonder to yourself, I wonder what they're feeling in that moment. And then when we apply it to words, this is where we can map linguistics through this system as well. Um, we we can kind of pull apart the words and how we're saying something and use Laban to help us speak with more intention or deliver a meaning behind a movement or a movement behind a meaning. And it's very often used in theater. I took this class called Laban Movement and Bartinian Fundamentals of Human Development
How do
3
you spell,
times
how do you
in
spell
grad
Laban?
school.
Just so I get that right. Laban.
Laban.
Okay,
I'll actually go ahead and have you posted in the Jumbotron before on Chatmosa?
I have not. No.
This could be your day. This is your day. All right, I'm gonna go to my X, and I'll go ahead and
So
repost this. Here. But yeah, go ahead. I'd love to hear your response,
well,
and then I'll get
Dan's
this
doing a little bit
thing
of
up.
logistics. Yeah, Dan's doing some logistics behind the scenes. It gives me a chance to talk because Dan, like most of us, multitasking actually slows everything down. Multitasking is really interesting. Some people say multitasking is a myth. I don't think so. But I think what multitasking does, it slows down the performance on the thing that you were doing, because it separates or divides or dissipates your energy, your focus. So as a parent, anybody's ever been a parent, multitasking absolutely is essential to survive. But what it does, if you change your focus from one thing, then it doesn't get all the energy, and so it changes the output in that particular arena. But that's a side note. What I want to talk about, that Dan was talking about, is this idea of adjusting on the fly. But Dan was talking about being able to look at data points of the weight, space, time, and flow objectively rather than subjectively, where my emotions are attached. Because I'm thinking, as Dan is talking, right, this is coming out of me while Dan's talking, is that what that does, that objectivity, become the observer of these elements, weight, space, time, and flow, which have sub-elements, and we can't get into that right now. This Laban theory is turning myself into the observer rather than being so immersed in the emotions of these things that it's really tough to be objective and therefore to make an objective decision. So I really like this, is that, and I don't think emotions are bad. I think emotions are designed to help us navigate the world. But when we use them as decision makers, I often make really bad decisions. So being able to remove myself from the emotion of a moment, especially because I've got that fight or flight mentality, when I feel like I'm under stress or I'm under threat, I'm going to do something to preserve my life, but it might not be the best decision for everybody involved. So this is what you're talking about, is by becoming the observer and just making it data points, so the weight and the space, the time, the balance, all those type of things. Then I'm taking the emotional, the instinctual, like animalistic response out of it and becoming much more analytical, and I can make a better, more informed decision rather than just an instinctual decision, which generally the instinct is either towards pleasure or away from pain, which is basically self-preservation and comfort. And self-preservation and comfort, those are nice things, but they don't cause us to grow or to expand or to become something more than that we aren't already.
Yeah, well said. And I've got the link copied. I actually reposted it on my X. Would you like me to talk you through the fairing of the Jumbotron? Because that could actually help some listeners. There's actually been a lot of interest as we've been starting this show in checking out Chatmosa. So,
hold on. Let's hold it. Yes, I'm going to say
yeah.
yes. But before, there's an element in this discussion I haven't got out yet, and I need to get out before I forget it. Yeah.
Do it.
So this is a real life illustration of all that we've been talking about this adaptability and the wicked, not evil, the wicked world versus the kind world. I believe that was the other end, right?
The kind and the wicked. And kind has a different connotation too.
Absolutely.
You know, things are like.
Yeah. Well, things are more predictable. They're they're safe, and you might say safe in that particular world. Like a wicked world, it feels unsafe because I don't know how to make a decision, because I don't know what the rules are. And then when I figure them out, the rules change. So this happens in real life. And this is brilliant because when I was in my graduate program at Pepperdine, which was master's degree in organizational development, we would go outside and we'd do these exercises. They were group exercises, partly for team bonding, but partly to illustrate with our bodies the principles that we're learning. And this one game we played, I'm just going to summarize it. The game was they would had a grid put out on the ground, basically like a bunch of squares, almost like a checkerboard, and there was no other markings. And the idea was to get your team from the first square through the grid, which there's no markings, there's no colors or anything, through the grid safely to out the other, and get the first team to get all your members through wins. But we didn't know where to step, and basically there was a monitor at the outside the game that would watch, and when you stepped in the square, they would say yes or no. No meant you can't step there. Yes means you can. And when you stepped into a no, you had to leave the board, and the next person then would have to follow in your footsteps. So they have to pay really close
Oh,
attention,
wow.
which is a yes and which is a no, because they're leading the rest of the team. And then you get halfway through the board, you got the thing mapped out in your mind. You figure, oh, we got this figured out. And then you step in a square that was yes, and now it's a no, and you're off the board. And you're like, what the heck? That was a yes with the
Love
team
that.
before me. I know where to go now because it's clear, and I step in and boom, that's a no, and I'm out. And all of it, and there was no rules set up before the game. We weren't told this, and so we're all like, and we're all adults, and we're like, wait, that's somebody changed the rules on us, and we're looking at the moderator like maybe they made a mistake, maybe the moderator mistake, and the moderator's just smiling, and nope, that's a no, no explanation. It's just a no.
It's just a no.
It's
Yeah.
just a no. So there's a lot of anxiousness, like, oh, I want to win, I want to get the team, but now what do we do? And so we had to, in the fly, on real time, go, okay, that was a yes, it's a no. Adapt, change. Don't fight it.
Mhm.
Don't complain. Don't blame somebody. Just say, okay, we can't step there anymore. Now where are we going to go? And it was a
Together. Yeah. Where we're going to go together.
a remarkable exercise that just illustrates in real time in my body. I can feel it in my body that life is like that. And it's wicked only because it's unpredictable and it
Mhm.
feels unsafe. It's not wicked because it's evil and it wants to hurt me. It's just wicked because I can't predict it. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's okay. But actually, I have the power. I have the superpower within me and with my team, my human race, my human grace. We can figure this thing out. We just say, okay, we could step there yesterday, but we can't step there today. The context has changed. And then we adapt and flow.
And that just really illustrates the importance of community and the relationship. So when you build relational capacity, then you can navigate those things in different ways. And so building a community that's not just close, but also adaptable is critically important, because that's the structures within community changes like the wind, like the wicked wind,
Yeah.
because you can have leaders that may be incredibly charismatic, confident, and knowledgeable, adept at whatever the task is. But when the world changes, you might need a different leader,
Right.
in your communities. And so when it kind of gets me thinking about this idea of servant leadership when you're really looking to those around you and looking for the win-wins and the things that are mutually beneficial, and also the ways that are equitable, fair, and just. So
Yeah.
it's a lot to balance, and some things, unfortunately in life, just go by the wayside. You can't have everything at all times, and you can't be everything for everyone at all times.
What?
So we
What are
have
you
to.
talking about?
I know life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Isn't it, Mojo?
So I want to throw
Yeah.
an
So
illustration from
so
illustration from nature here. If you're not done, you go ahead. But I have an illustration for nature at one point.
well, no, I was actually just gonna say, speaking of illustrations,
All right. Yes.
I do have this with
All
me.
right. Excellent.
It's a blank paper plate.
All right. Fantastic. So let's have people do their own prompt.
All right.
Let's have people do their own prompt today.
Yep.
So for those of you who haven't been on the show
Perfect. I love
before, Dan and I generally try to have a drawing, and we get a prompt from our guest. We create an AI kind of.
I need a break after yesterday.
Right, exactly. You never know what you're going to get. So we invite you who have tuned into the show either live or after the fact to take a moment and come up with your own prompt and come up with your own sketch that illustrates what we're talking about here. That life feels evil, but it's not. It's wicked, and only it's wicked in the sense of our perception. Life actually isn't wicked or kind. Life is life, and the kind and the wickedness is what
Life be life.
it's what we assign it. It's the meaning that it's Viktor Frankl's book, right? The Man's Search for Meaning. The meaning isn't something that we go find. The meaning is what we assign. Right? We assign life. We say it's wicked, or we say it's kind. And you get two people in the exact same circumstances. You know this as a family, and one of them says life sucks, and the other person says life is awesome. They're the exact same context, but they're the different. They're the difference is their perception and the meaning that they assign life. And so this has been a huge mind shift for me as I've contemplated Viktor Frankl's his concept that the last of the great human freedoms is our freedom to choose our attitude in any given situation. And here's a guy that was in the concentration camps of Germany, the worst circumstances, man's inhumanity to man at its the worst. And he's saying, guess what? They can take everything away from me, but they can't take away my choice as to what attitude and what meaning I'm going to assign to any given context. I'm like, wow, if he can do it, we can all do it, right? Worst possible scenario. Yeah. So we go searching for meaning, but the meaning really is what we assign. It's not a
and I love it. It's what we assign it. It's not how we find it, it's what we assign it. There's a lyric right there.
We don't find the meaning of life. We assign meaning to life. That's it right there.
We assign meaning to life. Yeah. But now I'm a little obsessed with that lyric.
Right on.
It's not how we find it, it's how we assign it. Or it's not what we find. Life's not what we find, it is how we
100%.
assign it. It's almost like it's got some eternal rhyme too.
But that
cool.
It also takes us from being the victim of all the world's circumstances, which makes it feel wicked, where it's all happening to me. Well, maybe it's happening for me. I just don't understand yet how, right? So,
for me, around me, near
through
me.
So some people say life is happening for me, or life is happening to me, and I say maybe life is just happening through me, right? And
okay. On that, I think we have that choice of modality at all times, because I guess so. This is a vision that I've always had since I was a kid. Was just thinking about God and the universe and all ontogeny. Like the meaning of life. I visualize it as this kind of like you were talking about yesterday with the force field. This limitless connected facade of crystal faces. So there's all these millions and billions and quadrillions and infinite number of facades around this central source. And this is just how I view reality. So buckle up, kids. So I've always believed that, we have those facades that are the facets, not sometimes a facade, but the facets of this crystalline structure that the way I visualize God, not some dude on a cloud with a beard and like stuff like that, but more is just like the essence of all around us. Then they're on our facet of reality. We're the only experience that intersects every single point on that plane.
Oh,
and
say that again.
Say that again.
So good.
So if we have this model of life as infinite facets of a diamond or crystal structure around a source, around this whatever true reality is. I call it God. Some people call it the universe. Whatever we call that, whatever name, you can call it Yahweh as well. Like I am. I love that too, because it's that like that deep identity. But our life and our experience of life is the only experience that intersects every single point on the plane
of
our life. And we have all of these, I call it the neighborhood. And this is actually, I'm writing a TED Talk right now called The Calculus of Life. So I'm just going to dip into that a little bit. So we have these neighborhoods around they look very similar to our life. And we often group together because we have so much common ground. We have so many similarities in where our lives intersect. But then as you get further and further and further from this experience that is like your identity, like the you, it gets harder and harder to see eye to eye because the planes are on such different
Yes.
levels, right? And then when we look directly through that source, through God, then we see somebody that is everything we are not.
Wow.
It's like the
Wow.
anti-you, right? And so and that's that there you go into this binary code, this dichotomy. And you say, okay, well, you know, everything that I am, this person is not. What can we possibly have in common? One thing. There's one thing, and that's the source. That's God. That we both see life through. So you can always choose to look
Yeah.
through that and see the other person. That is everything you're not. You can choose to go around it and hop neighborhoods that are really close to you and comfortable. You can choose to try and convince yourself to stay put, but there's no stability in this wicked schema, right? This
Yes.
wicked world. Because if you try and stay still, you still
Yeah,
have moved.
right.
You've changed. Movement is change,
You
and
can't
change
stay
is
still,
movement.
otherwise you're dead. Yep.
Yeah, but or we can retreat. We can try and back off from our existence and our true self. You know, like our truest form of who we are. So that's I mean I remember just seeing that. Probably the first time I remember I was like 3 or 4. That was when people were talking about, you know, God and you know, my grandma even asked me like, how do you picture God? And I was like, well, a circle. And she's like, no, God's in heaven, he's watching you. Think of him like an old father. I'm like,
Nope. No.
no.
No. Bette Midler got it
So
wrong. God is not watching us from a distance. That, how
from
can
a
a God, how can a
distance.
God that is everywhere all the time watch us from a distance? That doesn't make sense. Logical.
Ooh, look at this, Mary. Nice.
So
Oh, Mary.
yeah, Bette Midler had this very popular song back
I
in the
love it.
1980s. God is watching us from a distance. Like, well, that's not much of a God. That's a very localized God. But if God, and I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm just saying, in my concept, if there is a God and
Mhm.
God is all powerful everywhere all the time and all knowing, then it's impossible. It's physically impossible for God to watch us from a distance because He's everywhere. There is no distance for God, and actually,
Mhm.
there's no time for God is either. So it's a crazy
Yeah.
concept, but yeah.
No, it is. Well, and there's, you know, just we're getting biblical. That's okay. That's okay. It's a
Good.
conversation, right? So one of the things that I really love about Genesis is that there's these two accounts of creation. One is of this distant God, and that's the one we often hear, like God created day one and day two, and it's like it's very
Yes.
theatrical. But there's a second one, if you keep reading, where God comes down to earth and digs in the ground and you know, we're formed from the ground, you know, so there's that very much hands-on God, and that's, you know, just my preference for vision as well. And Cassie's a scientist, my wife's a scientist, so she's a biologist, and you know, it's how she's always kind of thought of God too, as that, you know, this predetermination is kind of hard to
Yeah.
swallow a little bit, that you know, everything in our life is planned out already, and it's happening like a movie trailer. And I think that's a pretty rudimentary and cursory and coarse version of that philosophy, that theology. But it's what something that she said to me early on when we started dating. She's just said, you know, we're like clay because, you know, we've never really been fired. Um, God can keep changing his mind just like we can, you know, and building and growing. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And you know, because it's a beautiful way, I think, to think about adaptability, that we are, if we think of ourselves
Uh-huh.
as clay that's never been fired, you know, we're not set in ceramic.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You know, Jars of Clay was one of my favorite bands back in the day.
I love Jars of Clay. I
Yeah,
got to see them
and
live. It
that
was
whole
awesome.
idea of Jars of Clay is that I am the clay. I'm not in the hands of the potter.
Uh-huh.
But think of that. The wheel is spinning. The clay is changing shape in the hands of the potter. It's always, and that's the whole universe is spinning, it's oscillating, it's rotating, it's vibrating. Everything's in motion. In fact, science says if it's static, it's dead. The only thing that's static is dead. And I'm not dead yet. I don't know about you. So we only got 2 minutes. We only got 2 minutes, so I'm
Yeah.
going to go with the song. But
Oh my
I
gosh,
can't tell
2
you how much
minutes?
I've enjoyed this
Nice.
discussion. The last thing I want to throw in here before I
Been
sing my
great.
song, which actually applies to what we're talking about today, is that whether I believe there's a God or I don't, I'm right. This is a variation on Henry Ford. Henry Ford says, if you
Yep.
believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right, because your belief system determines your experience of life. So I can't prove the existence of God, but what I can say is if I believe there's a God, there is. If you don't believe there's a God, there's not in your life, in your existence. It's not making God exist or not exist. It's saying your perception is your reality. So if I say there's no God, I'm actually living in a universe where there is none, and that's really not where I want to live. I want to live in a universe where there isn't.
I gotta highlight that one again. Yeah, that really, what you said before really illustrates that.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. All other ground is sinking sand. On Christ this rock I stand. He is my rock, yeah, yeah, yeah. He is the one I run to. He is my rock, yeah, 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 yeah. He is the one I belong to. And let's see, here we go. When darkness seems to hide his face, I rest on his unchanging grace. Well, all around my soul gives way. He is my hope, my stay. He is my rocket, yeah, yeah. He is the one I run to. He is my rocket, yeah. He is the one I belong to. When he shall come in trumpet sound, may I then again be found, yeah, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. He is my rock, yeah, he is the one I run to. He is my rock, yeah, he is the one I belong to. He is my rock, yeah, yeah, yeah. He is the one I run to. Jesus, he is my rock, yeah. He is the one I belong to. Rock on, people. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week. It's 7 o'clock somewhere. We start at 8 a.m. Pacific. No, PEAR Standard Time, PST. And we are off the air for the weekend, but we will be back on Monday morning. Please join us. Share the stream. Share the link. Share the love with someone that you are in touch with. You've got a sphere of influence. It's your blast radius.